Hello, my name is Roman Ginjihashvili, and this lecture will be about deep positional understanding and ways to convert positional advantage into a win. Well, I want to bring one game. This is most memorable game of my life. This is most memorable game not because I played so well, not at all. Actually, it wasn't flawless game at all, but the story that surrounds this game involving other people than me and my opponent is absolutely fascinating. And I would say this is one of the most instructive positional lessons I can give by talking about it. Game was played long time ago. Actually, game was played more than 40 years ago. Game was played in 1965, actually 44 years ago, between myself and my opponent was then international master Janssen. Well, d4, knight f6, c4, c5, d5, e5, knight c3, d6, e4, g6, bishop e2, bishop g7, and knight f3. And after castle, we have variety of King's Indian with early c5 for black. That's not such a great idea to play early c5. I played bishop g5, and this is Petrosian system of bishop g5 that was very popular those years. So bishop g5, h6, bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, knight h5, and h4. This is still theory that was known well then. Possible moves are g4 and knight f4. Knight f4 was played by my opponent. If g4, knight h2, knight takes g3, fg, and h5. This was very well known and was regarded as a better position for white. White would play knight f1 and knight e3 and castle short. Anyway, there were several games, and white has slightly better position. But that's not what we want to talk about. Knight f4 was played. And after knight f4, h takes g, king f1, and f5. Black seems to be very active, but in reality, they have some weaknesses in its center on a king side. You have bishop takes f2, knight d2, knight takes e2, queen takes e2, and queen f6. I'm going fast through this stage because the real position I want to discuss will occur in a few moves. After queen f6, the natural move knight e4, which I didn't make, But then queen goes black goes queen g6. But to give you an idea how old I am now, I will tell you that 45 years ago, I was already pretty strong master. That's scary, but that's the fact. Queen g6. Now white has to keep an eye on e4 knight for a long time, and queen comfortably protects d6 pawn. What I did instead, I made a very strong move, queen h5. It doesn't create any threats, but I want to go knight e4, and if queen goes to g6, I want to be able to exchange queens. So black is chasing my queen away from h5, but before they do, they want my king on g1, that I don't play king e2 and connect my rooks. So, and now they play bishop g6. But after knight e4, white has possibly decisive positional advantage. Knight takes f6, bishop takes f6, rook takes h5, bishop e7, rook h6, rook d8. I went knight e4. Black's white piece is absolutely dominating the board. King g7, rook e6, king f7. Now let me tell you something. This position, white has big advantage, and I found very interesting way to play this position. I went king f1 with the idea of king e2 and rook h1. Black played knight c6. Of course, I saw this move, and I prepared very nice maneuver that gave me big advantage. I after knight c6, I played rook h6, threatening rook h7, and after king g7, rook takes d6. This is very strong. Bishop takes d6, d takes c, and now white has two threats, c takes b, as well as knight takes d6. That's why rook h6 was played, and king on g7 is very vulnerable. So after d takes c, bishop c7, knight takes c5, threatening knight e6 check, king f7, pawn takes b7, rook b8, b4. White is winning here. White has 3 pawns for exchange, and after b4, king f6, rook e1, I won shortly. And I was very pleased with this game. And here is what happened after the game. After the game, I lived in Georgian city of Tbilisi, and this was an international tournament, and I was very pleased, as I already mentioned, to this game. And we had a visit for then world champion Tigran Petrosyan. And I showed him this game, and I was very honored to meet him. And I showed him this game, especially because it was won with a Petrosyan variation, and I thought it was good positional game, and he will really appreciate. And he did like the game, and he absolutely stunned me. And then I realized how great, how great he is, and how unbelievable his intuition is. He suggested the move that never crossed my mind, and several days ago, actually, I gave this position to Ripka. Ripka, I played, as you remember, King F1 with the idea of King E2 on Rook H1. Ripka gave as best move F3, which is exactly the same as my King F1 move, because now she wants to go King F2 and Rook H1. And I gave Ripka more time and more time, and even Ripka did not come up with suggestion that Petrosian did. And after I gave Ripka the move suggested by Petrosian, and she thought longer and longer, and even Ripka agreed that black is lost after that move. And this by far the best move. Move is highly illogical, and that's why Ripka couldn't find it, because Ripka's search always based on logical continuations, and logic is put in a very interesting way in this program. And later I spoke to Ripka owners, and they agreed with me, so that's why Ripka couldn't find that continuation. The move is absolutely mind-boggling, Rook F1. And that was fascinating. I was absolutely thrilled to see. First, I thought, what is Petrosian doing? Well, at first all kind of things, all kind of ideas came to my mind, and the first one was maybe he is drunk. Second was maybe he's not feeling well, and only in the end, and the last option was maybe this is a very good move. That was my last option. Rook F1 in reality is a winning move that wins much faster than it happened in a game. The only move Ripka says black has is Rook D7. If knight C6, then after F4 and bishop takes F4, black can resign here. There is no defense. The best move by far is Rook D7. Actually, it's not the best move, it's the only move. And white goes F4. Actually, after F4, Ripka says here that Rook D7 is absolutely the only move. And after F4, Ripka says that white is not better, white is completely winning, and it would be okay for black to resign even. And white's advantage at this position is more than 2.5, which is in computer language, winning is 0.6, 0.6, and here is 2.5, which is 5-6 times size of advantage. GF, that to give you an idea what can happen, is GF, bishop takes F4. Now, if king G8, bishop H6, and upcoming rook F3, G3 is Ripka gives at this position already +4 to black. So the best move is E takes F, rook takes F4, king E8, knight F6 check, king d8, and knight takes d7. And now the best move is king takes d7, because if knight takes d7, then white can simply go rook f7, and you will see that after only move bishop f8, g4, g5, g6, it goes. There's absolutely no way of stopping it, and black has resignable position. So better tries king takes d7. And after king takes d7, white simply plays not rook f7 because of knight c6. It's a better move here. Rook e4. And after bishop f8, we can even go rook e8. But bishop d8, then we can go rook h6. And it's absolutely resignable position for black. There is no well, let me show you a little more about this. After rook f2 e4 on bishop d8, we do go rook h6. And now if king c7, the best move is rook g4 actually. And after knight d7, rook g7, now threatening to win the knight with rook h7. And there is no square to put black's bishop, to move black's bishop to put the rook on d8, because black's bishop has no square. So, and after, now this is king c8 must be played. I believe there is no other move. And after rook takes d6, knight f6, and rook e6, black is absolutely motionless. g4, g5 goes. There is actually, we can put here, big menu for white of winning continuations. And position is totally hopeless. Now let's go a few moves back to the position. And let me tell you, while I was telling Petrosian how good was my maneuver, king f1, e2, he said, yeah, it's not bad, but what can you do after rook f1? And I was in shock, in a state of shock. Here's world champion. Suggest the move that makes no sense to me. Why is that? And once I made move like knight a6, and after f4, I resigned 3 moves later. And then I tried rook d7 as well. And after f4 also got crushed really quick. After rook d7 and f4, everything is very easy for white. The difficult part to come up with the idea of rook f1. And let me tell you how long it took Petrosian to come up with this move. It took him under 10 seconds. It took him under 10 seconds to come up with this move. That's how great his intuition was. And when we say world champions in past, they are not as good. They wouldn't do as well today. That's true. They didn't do as well today if you bring them back in condition they were then when they were world champions. But their talent and their intuition was absolutely on a highest imaginable human level. And that's why Petrosian even though he almost never liked his position well enough, to say, oh, yes, I have an advantage. He said that every opening position that he played with a black, if he played this position with a black, he would consider he is worse. And if he had it with a white, the exact same position, he would say, I have no advantage. So this is kind of comical, but at the same time, he was very skeptical always about the position. But when to suggest some brilliant idea, he was probably he has probably the best intuition of all the people I uh, knew. So I think the only person who could have come up with a Rook F1 move, and I'm not sure about it if he would, I think would have been Kasparov. Kasparov is the only one who had this greatest intuition for initiative. But Rook F1, defensive player and positional player like Petrosian, comes up with Rook F1 move in a few seconds. To me, it's absolutely remarkable. And that's why I say, if I live for 100 years more, I will never, ever forget this game. And actually, what I will never forget is Petrosian's suggestion and in level of his intuition, finding in this move Rook F1. And to you, I suggest, why don't you bring on your different program, maybe not Ripka, maybe on a Fritz or Hierarchs or whatever program you can, chess engine you can come up with, and try to make them find Rook F1 move on their own. I don't think it's possible. And that's why I say this to me is absolutely remarkable. And I was very much surprised that even Ripka failed finding this brilliant maneuver. So I hope you enjoyed the lecture, and I thank you very much, and you have a very good day.